everybody, this is Mark Leffler. Welcome to my Prezi. Chapter 6 is a review of the 4 principles: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. I've got a couple other things that we'll talk about that Williams reiterates in this chapter as well. One being, be not afraid. If you can apply the 4 principles, there's no reason to be afraid. You know, you can, if you keep those principles in mind, lo and behold, everything works. White space is good. Don't forget white space. And you know, we live in an age right now where you can become template dependent. Is what I've found, that do all the designs for us. But templates can be bad too, and that people just kind of get used to seeing the same templates over and over again, and kind of tune you out. All right, so contrast. Contrast is about making elements stand out by making them different. You know, make things different, and avoid similarity. Williams says that contrast is one of the most important visual elements that you can have, because it really, if you make things stand out, it clarifies the communication. And I've got an example, a really bad example of contrast. There's no contrast in this piece. This is a first piece that I did in Pixlr, and it's really bad. I've gotten a lot better in my Pixlr. Repetition. I've got a typo in there, but repetition is repeating certain designs. It's not contrast. Is repeating certain design elements for consistency and clarity and flow. And Williams says that it really strengthens unity, the unity of your design, when you have repetition of your typefaces and your elements. And this is another bad example. This is a PyZap, something I did early on. And there's not really any good repeating elements there. Yeah, the typefaces are the same, but there's not enough unity of the design there, and it's just pretty bad there in the PyZap example. And that's my work, so. Repetition. Alignment. Alignment is how to align your elements to make them line up in the right way, in a way that makes sense. As Williams says, nothing should be placed on the page arbitrarily. You want your readers to be able to make a clear connection to what you're trying to say, and good alignment is real key to that. Here's another bad example, Photo VZ that I did early on. I defy you to find any alignment in there at all. And as a side note, there's no white space to give the eye some rest, and everything's crammed together and out of alignment. And proximity, the last of the 4. Proximity is placing objects that are related close together. You know, proximity really organizes, cuts through the clutter, and clarifies things for the viewer. One example, and I'm actually kind of proud of this one, the flyer that we did with a Microsoft template, and that's a Photo VZ photo collage there that I've got too. But some nice proximity to the elements there. The headlines are close to the copy, and so pretty happy with that. Some good examples. Good examples of the flyer that we covered, but also Bunsey. That was the video and presentation editing app that has some really nice templates that let you do some things that keep things you know, in alignment. There's good repetition of elements that needs to, like colors and typefaces, and there's proximity of elements that brings unity. This is just a couple screen grabs of the presentation, but I think they show some good, you know, there's nice white space. And then finally, I wanted to show y'all that I'm getting better at Photo VZ and some of these other things. I use Photo VZ to create birthday cards for my kids. So. All right, and kind of a wrap up. One of the things that I've really enjoyed getting to learn in this class is Screencast-O-Matic, where it's an app that you can use to capture whatever's on your laptop screen. And just did a little video that kind of shows an example of what we do in Spark-O-Matic each Saturday. It's just a real nice on-the-fly way to create something that you want to present. All right, and here are the credits. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm the creator of this presentation. Resources, of course, are the Non-Designer's Design Book from Williams. Presentation tools that I used: Prezi, Screencast-O-Matic, and iMovie for final edit. I'm going to add music with iMovie. Images and clips, that's me and the kids at Spark-O-Matic, which is a great digital arts program at Medgar Evers Library in Jackson if you're ever in town. Come check it out. Photo editing by Pixlr, PhotoVZ, and PyZap, and royalty-free stock music that I'm going to add. That's a little piece called Ukulele Acoustic. Thanks, everybody, and I hope you have a great holiday. Bye-bye.
All right. This is Resna Matthews, and we are working with Chapter 7, Design with Color. Now, I like fashion, I love sports, and in both of those things, you tend to notice that you see color combinations that tend to stand out pretty often. Whether it be the New Orleans Saints with black and gold, Southern Miss with black and gold, for instance, the Denver Broncos or the Florida Gators with the blue and orange. And the same thing with fashion. People tend to dress with colors that match together or work well together. All right. Now we're going to start with the color wheel. Now the base color wheel contains 3 sets of colors. The primary colors, which are your red and your yellow and your blue. And secondary colors, which are the green, the purple, and your orange. And the territory combinations, which are kind of, your combination of the primary and secondary colors. So you put these 2 guys together, you get this one. Put these 2 guys together, you get this one. All right. Going on to color relationships. So with this, you get complementary colors, or the colors that are exactly across from each other on the color wheel. And many times sports teams or other entities, they tend to use colors that match up pretty well. So in this case, we see the purple and gold, which we know many teams use that. Minnesota Vikings, LSU Tigers. And I mentioned the blue and orange before of the Denver Broncos and the Florida Gators. Also, as you see, red and green, Christmas colors, and you can see these different type of color combinations pretty often out and about. Now, another fact I ran up on was that orange was typically used as a brighter color with life jackets and water rafts, rescue rafts, because of the way the orange stands out in the contrast against the blue water, which makes perfect sense to me. Also, orange was chosen as the backdrop for hunting vests and hunting jackets and hunting gear because of the way the orange pops out in the forest or in the woods. Same thing with plastic toy guns with the orange tip. It really shows a true contrast against the black. Okay, here we have the Miami Dolphins logo, which you saw earlier. These 2 colors are typically right across from each other on the full color wheel, which makes sense, and they work well together. I showcased the purple and gold earlier, which you see right here on this LSU logo that I have here. The 2 colors work well together, and they do contrast pretty well. All right, shades and tints. Now, the pure color is the hue, and adding black to a hue creates a shade. Adding white to a color creates a tint. Now, what I want to show here, if you go look, you're going to edit and create, edit and paint 3D. I want to pull up, we can kind of show some shading and tinting. Okay, going to create a new color here. Now, you see our base color would typically be here. And you see the hues down here at the bottom. Adding that black these would be considered various shades. Lightening it up in this part of the spectrum here would be various tints. And you see how we can go and select pretty much any color we want, tinting it, so to speak, how we want, or shading it how we want. That's a good way to look at, I guess, different colors on the color wheel in its complete nature by seeing everything that's out there. All right, warm colors versus cool colors. Now, warm colors tend to stand out, while cool colors usually create some contrast. They kind of fade to the back, so to speak, or they're really, you can use the cool colors to really make those warm colors intensify. So you may have a little bit of blue for your background, but you may want some red or some orange to really stand out. Now I'm going to showcase some of this with some of my projects that I did for our class. So right here, the original images of campus, and had the yellow sunflowers in the foreground. So I threw these two Southern Miss graphics up there just to show them and showcase it. And it really popped out. As you see, we got the blue sky background, but what stands out the most is the yellow on the eagle heads and the yellow on the sunflowers. Okay, now this project here, we got a lot of warm colors popping out here all over the place, and that actually it's kind of taking over the photo as opposed to the 5 Southern Miss images that you see that I have here. So I asked the question here at the bottom: what stands out most, the wild colors or the Southern Miss logos? Personally, I think it's the wild colors, but you see them really pop out, and you see the cool colors of the blues and light greens that are really contrasting against these hot pinks and oranges and reds. And that is a wrap, my friends. I hope you enjoyed chapter 7. And as you see, we got this colorful background here. And
Hi, I'm coming today, and I've read chapter 7 and chapter 8, and I was really shocked after starting to read in chapter 7 how colors have its place. It knows exactly what can be mixed, and the color wheel has a lot of work on it. It tells you a lot about the colors. It lets you know. Chapter 7 discussed the importance of color. It gives you explanation of the color wheel and how it really works. It has its own definition of colors. I didn't know that colors was divided into 2 parts. I thought color was just a color until reading chapter 7. The CMYK is made up of blue, red, pink, and black, and these colors are mainly used in a professional usage, such as advertisement in the corporate world or online classes. You have to have some color sometimes, not just black and white, but a lot of the courses online is just basically black and white. However, you have the RGB, and that's a mixture of blue, red, and a hot pink. The RGB coloring is known to work through the light, like when you're looking at the computer, is basically something that just reflect into your eyes. And sometimes some of them reflect and sometimes some of them do not, because of the glare or because the way you're sitting. It may not reflect to harm you, and then some can be harmful to your eyes. But colors are used in the classroom. It's used on a daily basis. I see children come home and tell their mom, I'm on red, I'm on yellow, I think it's red, yellow, and green. They use those primary colors for today's world. And it's being useful. It lets them know what level of discipline that they're in. But you also have where the complementary colors, there is colors that's normally, I would say, I say complementary, and that's what the book says. But I think it's like your shades, like you're wanting a shade of blue or a shade of red or something that's giving you a shade, not a color direct to your eyes, but something that may blend in with something else to come over, color over. But colors has a lot of input, and there's a combination of a lot of colors that you can use. I didn't know it was like this, and actually, until I really read it. And when you add black, that's where you get your shade from. But white, it gives you a tint. And that's something I knew black would make a color darker and white will make a color lighter, but I didn't know that is where they got their tint from, because I just thought they put extra color in there. I wasn't sure about that. But reading this was very interesting to me. I had no idea. But that's where a lot of the colors come from. Like when you're doing an advertisement, you have to make sure you have that color to bring in your consumer or your customer or client or what have you. Because they watch, when they look at something, they want something that's going to pull them. That looks nice. I'm going to walk in there and look in there and see exactly what's in there. Okay. A lot of colors you have your warm colors, you have your cool colors, and I think your warm colors is like in the summertime versus your cool colors are in the wintertime. And it could be vice versa, but nowadays they just put on. And warm colors is such as, like, I think it's gray and tan, and you add a little yellow or red or something like that, versus the cool colors are just adding colors such as blue. So the background of colors is very interesting. I'm going to spend a little more time reading chapter 7 because I want to know a little bit more about colors. It's very interesting. I also read chapter 8, and it's talking about the extra tips and the tricks that is being shown when you're advertising books. And you see the 3 pictures of Shakespeare here, and Shakespeare is basically formatted. Everything is repetitious on here because he have his book, he have his name on the side and his name here on the side, and it's the same format, but then here he tells you a little bit more. He goes in detail, so he gives some contrast in there, and then he do some alignments that is added in there as well. And he just lets you know about what's going to be in the book, because here with the man with the daggers in his back, but however he's bleeding, so it's going to be something tragic, or you're going to have someone that's going to stab this man in his back and going to hurt him. Wherefore in the middle cover is letting you know she may have to choose between 2 guys, or she have some guards, however. So this is going to be more of like a romantic type, I feel, book. And then the last book over here, I really didn't know what was this going here. I think he was going to be talking about a lot, but he could look at his format here. He put that in red. But then here it's kind of warm colors here. So there go the colors that's coming from chapter 7 coming over to chapter 8, and this is basically bringing out chapter 8. He did a lot of information in chapter 8 on the booklets that he had. You have to also look at when you're doing business cards, and you have to know the tips that you have to put on there, the skin, or if you're doing some advertising for weight loss, skinny, or losing 10 pounds in one day, or something similar to that. You have to make sure that you're putting the keywords onto your design or your business card. And also the trick to your letterhead is that you have people that like stationery, that like very nice looking stationery, as to some people just throw something on paper and say, hey, this is a letterhead. Similar to, I think, Social Security. They just put it black and white. So it's your format, your type of size, your tips for doing and making sure that your business cards are correct. Just make sure that they're legible, everything is clear, and it's going to pull in your consumer. You have to be creative. Make sure that you're creating something that's going to give them, I want that. I need to see what is that about. And flyers, when you're advertising business and such as a lot of people are, I think a lot of women now here in Hattiesburg is selling that jewelry, and they give out a lot of cards at my church about the jewelry. Some of them are very impressive and some of them are not. So you have to put something there to make them want to come back and say, hey, I would like to look at your information. It's just like reading a book. You're standing in the line and you may see a magazine on the rack. That magazine may have something to catch your eye and you want to look at it. It can be just a pretty dress. But if the color of that magazine is kind of, I'll say pink, I'm going to pick it up, or purple. Purple is my favorite color. They say purple is royalty, but that goes back to the color in chapter 7. But chapter 8 really went over what you look for when you're doing some advertising. You want to pull in your reader, or you want to pull in your consumer, or you want to pull in your business prospect. You want to pull it in. So you have to be very mindful of what you're putting out there, something that's going to catch that person's eye. So it took me back to when I did 2 projects. And that finance project, I was like, okay, we're going to talk about finance. So I want to pull them in. I don't want everything green, because everybody want to put green with money because that's the color of it. But I thought a little pink would like bring it in, and that pink and putting that green together, it kind of put it a little dash of purple, and just went on and told about the things that we were going to be discussing within the finance class. And then I also saw myself being repetitive by using the same format when I did the budget. And then I came back with the information about finance, and there was another page in bullet points that I had on finance, and all 3 of them was the same, and I didn't realize it until I read the book on chapter 8 and saw that I had the format and had everything that was aligned. It was just being repetitious, and I thought that was kind of cool that I hadn't read the book all the way, but it was interesting. I really appreciate you guys having patience and understanding with me. I have a lot on my plate right now in my family, but however, I was going to drop out of school, and I'm pushing my way through. But thank you for your patience and your understanding. You guys and your family have a blessed and wonderful holiday, and I really enjoyed being in the group with you guys. Thank you, and have a nice night.
Hello everyone, this is Tian, and here's my presentation. My part is something about chapter 8. Before starting this, I want to apologize first because my English is not very well, so I'm going to read a draft while doing this presentation, just in case my mind go completely blank. Also, I was not very familiar with this presentation tool, Sway. I tried a few examples, but finally I decided to make my own structure, and it's quite simple and very basic. the construction is very simple as well. But the point is about to communicating information. So let's get started. Yeah, this chapter is mainly talk about how to combine and practice the 4 principles when designing different types of pieces. And as the title shows, there are some upcoming tricks and useful suggestions for designers from the author. Also, first of all, I would like to review the 4 principles that the author introduced in previous chapters, because these are essential rules we should follow throughout all kinds of graphic design. So the 4 principles, the first is proximity, alignment, repetition, and contrast. If there are items in one design page that are related to each other, you should group them together into a closer proximity. This could be realized by doing spacing arrangement and typeface, color, weight, and placement adjustment of each block of grouped items. Secondly, alignment. Well, in my opinion, making a clear alignment is easy to realize. For me, the hard part is to change the dull, plain alignment to an interesting, more attractive one to make the layout has a stronger appeal. The third one is repetition. Consciously repeating some elements could create a consistent look of items, even if they are not exactly the same. Repeated elements could have more variability when applying in different spaces to add visual interest and make the design more appealing for readers. Another way to attract readers their attention is to create contrast. As the author Robin Williams said, don't be a wimp to be bought and be bought to try more possibilities. Okay, here are some examples that you can see maintain the application of the 4 principles. The first one, they combine the elements have similar characters together to make more clear. And this is a video that I made for my Chinese tea course, Chinese tea ceremony course. And I think I've used a very simple alignment here just to put the title here and then show the pictures, and here certain alignment to make them like a chain together. Yeah, basically like this. So people will know their sequence steps of making tea. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and these are the 3 basic alignment type. And this is effective contrast and not as effective contrast. Like the contrast between colors. Also, there are more types of contrast you can use when designing your layout. Okay, here comes to the tricks and tips about designing different kind of pages. The first one is for package or brand. The most important thing about this one, I think, is the principle of repetition. By maintaining the consistency of design style, but making some differences on small details like changing the color combination, repeat the alignment, the front on or the placement of each element to make sure the design is in series, like a chain producing. Using large font to make a bold design of brand so people will remember, and next time when they see the brand, they could identify it immediately and easily. Next, we come to the design of business cards. The author gave us some tips. First it's about the format. There are 2 formats. You can choose horizontal or vertical. Just choose the one that works best for the information you need to put on the card. And the type size. Normally people just make it too bold, But when you read a business cards, you want to read information that is very clear. So you can make the type make it smaller, like 7 to 9 point, and the consistent image on all pieces. Yeah, this is actually the business card example, and you can see the repeating using this icon, and the information are aligned on the same way, all center aligned, so they maintain the very good consistency. And next step, yeah, I assume that is a very good design. And the next we come talk about letterhead and envelopes. The envelope size normally at 9.5 plus 4.125 inches, and we should remember to create a focal point on the layout. For example, like this one, it put the title of the letter very large and with the contrast of color. So to create the focal point. Also, one element should be dominant on both letterhead and envelopes to make the same thing on the business card too, if there is one attached with the letter. One alignment for the stationery, the author suggested us to do this, to try flush right down the side with lots of line spacing. Also, use smaller elements or lighter color on the second page to make people realize that it's already a second page. And always remember to print extra pages just in case you writing on the halfway and you realize you don't have an extra page. You should try to avoid that kind of situation. Okay, here comes to the flyers. We have made some flyers during the course, and I really enjoyed it. I thought I've made a great, okay project of my design about the Chinese tea ceremony course again. Here are the tips and principles we should follow when designing flyers. I'm using this flyer. There are still, I think my flyer still have some a lot of aspects that can get improved. For example, the choice of color. But I'm using a subhead and contrast to make a bold, like using different color, the same color here, and similar color at the bottom and the top to make the certain alignment of color, and the contrast of typeface. You can see the title and subtitle are using different typeface. So people maybe want to read about it when they see my flyer. And I use repetition. For example, the typeface on the top and here, they're kind of repeat, also to make consistency. And here the information about where the course is and the class code, I'm using the same typeface too. But about the time, which is very important, I use different typeface to make a contrast. Yeah, and something about repetition. It aims to bring contrast between headline and the body of text. The author suggests us to use only one alignment, so that's why I keep it central alignment throughout the page, like to maintain a certain harmony. Well, that's pretty much the part of mine. And as a conclusion, I want to say a good design of an attractive page should merge all the principles in a proper use, and there's always a possibility to improve the original work, a better one. And we need to practice these principles as much as possible and always open our designer eyes in daily life to find out and learn from those great page designs. Thank you very much, and I wish you enjoyed this presentation.